trying to sort of show where all the stuff is that you can play around with, so to speak, give you an idea of all the different stuff that can be played around with. I'm not expecting you, there will be no quiz. I'm not expecting you to memorize what happens if you click the third button on the left from the such and such. So definitely just trying to give an overall overview. So people are clearly hearing and seeing me now. I love that that is great. Just love that you're speaking out when that is not the case. So in this test story map, you can add a bunch of images and videos and so on. But by far the sort of headline element, the element that makes this really, really special, is the map, as Johnny was just mentioning. And you can add maps in many different ways. A bunch of the formats in this little menu here with the plus sign include maps. But the sort of archetypal one and the simplest is just adding a map. So when you hit the map thing, you go to this menu. And if any of you guys are doing this right now, you're not going to see anything under my maps because you just created your story map. So you haven't created any maps yet. But there are a range of other tabs where there's maps in any groups you're involved in, also probably empty for you guys. Maps in any organization you're involved in, also probably empty for you guys, because unless you're part of a broader sort of MCCF organization on the previous account. But there's also the Living Atlas, and that is a huge online network of all sorts of maps created by all sorts of people around the world that Esri, the company that makes ArcGIS, has sort of promoted to be part of the whole platform's architecture. So basically, this is sort of a huge crowdsourced atlas, kind of the Wikipedia of maps, that is just part of this whole thing that you get access to when you buy the software or get a free account. And there's just a whole bunch of different stuff available about it. So let's add, just for an illustration of what you can do with maps, you could add a 3D relief of an island in Japan, or orthophoto in Latvian, or a whole bunch of interesting stuff. I know you could search for example, hurricanes. And you could look at the 2020 hurricane season. And once you've selected a map, and you can do this with your own web maps, which you make in a different way, you'll see that in each individual map, and this is a very brief introduction to the whole universe of GIS maps, and there's a whole bunch of extra stuff you can learn about how to make these maps that I won't really be getting into. You can see there's different layers in the map, and you can turn some of them on or off for which ones you want to show. You can zoom in to whatever area you want to be prominent when you add it to the story map. And you can zoom in on an individual track. And this is just sort of the Esri standard symbol of storm tracks in 2020. Like when you click on it, the Hurricane Laura was observed here, for example. You can look at cool stuff like that, focusing on the Gulf of Mexico. You can add stuff like a legend to show what it indicates, storm type, etc. You can add a search bar, which apparently isn't allowable in the way this map works, so that just whoever made this original map didn't include that. You can add a current location where it zooms to whatever your actual current location is. See, it just set up a little window asking to know my location. So I hit allow, and it zoomed to where I actually live in Gorham, which I will zoom out from because I didn't. So that is where I actually am. And so you can add a little button that allows anyone looking at the map to show their location compared to what's on the map, which is just a handy little thing. And then once you've made whatever changes, you've moved it around, you can place the map, and it is part of your story map. And note that you can do this with maps you make, and you can also do this with any of the hundreds of thousands of maps other people have made that are part of the Living Atlas. So there's just an astonishing amount of content out there. And so you'll note that it pops up exactly how we were looking at it, like looking at the exact same area, but people looking at the story map can also zoom out or zoom in or move it around. So you can still access the whole map, but what you were setting before was just like sort of default view. And when it's your own map, you can do stuff like edit these boxes to be a little more attractive and have extra text and stuff like that, and edit what sort of map it is in the background, not just this boring gray, and really change every single aspect of everything. So that's just the broad mechanic that Johnny was mentioning of how to add maps to a story map. And are there any questions at this point? There's a whole bunch of things that go into making these maps that I'm not even covering. So I'm just covering the story map part, but are there anything you would like to know or know where to find more about?
So Sam, assuming we're going to begin relatively simply with a map of the Bagaduce estuary, I assume.
Yes, I've already created
Sarah
it.
said Sarah already uses GIS. I think Mike does a bit too. We may already have that imagery. We just go get it from our Office of GIS. So we pick an image that we like that shows whatever geographic features we want. And that becomes, I don't know, framework for our story map.
I'm not entirely sure what you're asking. These aren't images per se. Images are static. These are sort of interactive map documents. If there are pre-existing maps that you like to use, they will be available. Like you can share them. You can share them to your account. There will be a way to use any existing GIS content you have. Is that what you're asking? I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know what I'm asking.
Okay, no worries. But if there's existing GIS content, like an image or an interactive map like this, made by Maine Center for Coastal Fisheries, it will be out there. It will be available to include in a story map.
Sam, I just tried to recreate some of the, like one of your quick steps. And when you added something, it looked to me as if you could just go to the, as if there are two ways. You can click on the cross button, the adding button.
Yes.
But it also looked to me as if you were just going with your cursor anywhere and could add something in that point. Remember, initially, very much in the beginning, you said you can add something below or above the writing.
Yeah. Excellent point. You can actually, when you go anywhere on the map, you can actually, the little button sort of appeals, and when you mouse over it, it becomes that button you can add.
Oh, I don't think it does that on mine.
Yeah, see, it doesn't do it too far down. Like over here, it doesn't do it because there's nothing there yet. But if you wanted to like make space for it, you could just add like text, put in some return marks so that there's like empty space to add stuff. And now, anywhere in here, you can add anything.
Huh. That little button doesn't come up, like the little plus button doesn't come up when I hover with my cursor.
Absolutely. Okay, so you're probably just not in an area where, so would you mind just sharing your screen real quick?
Oh, unfortunately, I did it on my laptop. So I I can't share the screen, but hang on.
Oh, no worries.
Maybe I can recreate.
But you should be able to just go to the last place you have content.
Oh, it's funny. On my desktop, it does it. On my laptop, it doesn't.
Huh. Well, in that case, I don't know.
That's interesting.
Okay, so
on my desktop, I totally have the little plus. Well, I'll figure it out. But
maybe there's some slightly different user interface on laptops. I don't know. I mean, I'm doing it on a laptop, and I did it, but
maybe I have different settings.
I don't know. It should work. Like that is just the standard way to add new content to a story map. That you mouse around and there's a little button right below the last thing you added.
And I see it on my desktop. It does it, but not on the laptop. It's okay.
No worries.
I'll figure it out. Don't worry.
No worries. Excellent. So do people feel like roughly confident with the map thing? Does anyone want to share their screen and discuss how to maybe add something different? Obviously, we're not even getting into how to create maps like this yet, although I will touch on it a little bit later.
One question, Sam. I was kind of browsing the Living Atlas, and some things come up as a map, and it's, you know, you can place the map right in the thing, and some of them open up to something that's clearly bigger and there's no place the map button. It's more like view this in the classic map viewer kind of thing. Is that, do you know what I'm talking
Excellent
about?
question. So just for example, when you go to the Living Atlas and look at any random thing, sometimes when you click on it, you can just add it. And sometimes, I don't know where you're clicking, like if you view full details, for example, I don't know if maybe that's what you did, you can see sort of its homepage in the ArcGIS ecosystem where it has multiple ways to look at it. But normally, if you're in this Add a Map tab and you're adding maps from the Living Atlas, well, if you just click on the image, it should move to the stage where you can look at it and you can see more information, like view it in another window, if you click on one of these sidebar type things. Does that help? So Sarah, does that does that answer your question, or is something else going on? Feel free to share your screen if you want, so I can just walk you through it.
No, that explains it. That makes sense. So
Great, thanks. Anyone else have any questions at all? I know that I'm going quickly. I'm covering a lot. I don't want to leave people hanging.
Could you quickly show us how to save? Because when we go between computers,
Oh, excellent point. Excellent point. I was definitely going to get to that, but that is probably something that should be addressed sooner rather than later. Full stop, it automatically saves, so you won't actually lose anything. Second, if you want to sort of more formally save, like changing its name or something, there's this publish button up here, right at the top. And there's sort of 3 levels at which you can publish it. There's a private level, only you can view this story, which is just the same as saving it, essentially, since only you can view it. There's a level where you can move it to everyone, and then if you share the link, anyone could view this story. You can share it with groups, some of which I'm part of, but you guys probably aren't part of groups yet. You can set those up. Or you can share it with just the people in your organization, which again, with free trial accounts, you probably don't have. So you can just move to private, just to save it for yourself. And later on, when we make presentable story maps, we can move it to everyone to share them. So just to save, you can hit publish, private, publish story. Excellent question, Atja. Thank you so much. And again, I ask you all to forgive me when I move too fast. I am.
And Sam, just a follow-up question to this. How do I then find it again? Like, where do I go to open saved files?
That's another excellent question. So I just made this draft story map, and I'm going to leave it totally. I saved it, but I'm totally off there. I go back to my arcgis.com account. I sign in, and I have something set up to automatically sign in. And there I am, and I hit content. And the top thing in my content is test story map for demonstration purposes. And it'll probably be the only thing in your guys' content if you publish it privately. And if you click on it, you can view, which is what any ordinary person will be doing, and just look at it without editing it. Or you can hit configure, which gets you back to that editing view. So that is how you access stuff like that. It will be the top thing under your content tab.
Okay, so I